Hi there, I'm Claire Murphy from the 5AA newsroom, and this is the week that was. There was sad news this week when we heard that Jim Steins, football legend, had passed away. He'd been battling cancer for 3 years, which had ended in him having up to 20 operations to remove tumours from his brain. Steins passed away surrounded by his family at his home in Melbourne. There will be a state funeral held for him in Victoria, and there will be an hour-long memorial service for him before the Demons game against the Bulldogs in round 4. His wife and his children will then spread his ashes at a spot he picked out back in his home country, Ireland. French police shot and killed a man in the city of Toulouse this week. He'd holed himself up in an apartment for 32 hours after admitting that he had shot and killed Jewish children and soldiers. He tried to escape by jumping through his apartment window in a hail of bullets. A sniper was waiting for him outside. His brother has now also been arrested on charges of conspiring to murder and terrorist activities. The AFL season got underway this weekend, with Greater Western Sydney stepping up for the first time against Sydney. Israel Folau did play, but former Essendon star Matthew Lloyd has wondered why he was selected, saying his form was not good enough and that maybe he'd been picked purely because of the investment the club had put into him in recruiting fans. The Giants ended up losing the game by 63 points. Great news for Holden workers this week, with the state and federal governments getting together to sign a $275 million package to keep the car giant here in Australia. They have promised to make 2 next-generation cars out of the Elizabeth plant. Our Premier Jay Weatherill says if they do not deliver on that promise, the $50 million that they've promised will not be handed over. Australia's most wanted criminal, Malcolm Naydon, was finally brought in this week. He'd been on the run for 7 years, hiding out in the New South Wales bush. One attempt to bring him in ended in a police officer being shot. He faced court this week on murder charges and is now spending his time in Goulburn's Supermax prison. South Australian police say remains that were found next to an abandoned four-wheel drive in remote SA could have been lying there for months. A helicopter pilot doing survey work came across the abandoned vehicle 70 k's north of Penong near Ceduna. He landed and found the remains lying next to the car. They've now been taken to Port Lincoln for identification. Julia Gillard's controversial mining tax passed its final hurdle this week, making it through the Senate. That means that companies who mine certain natural resources will be charged a 30% tax on their profits. Some of those companies are thinking about taking legal action, saying that the tax is discriminatory. The Brazilian government is calling for a thorough investigation after one of its citizens was killed in Sydney this week. He was suspected of stealing a packet of biscuits from a store. Police tracked him down. He then allegedly resisted arrest. Police tasered and capsicum sprayed him, and he died at the scene. There's now calls for New South Wales Police to stop using tasers until further notice. After rain interrupted the race, Fernando Alonso finally took out the Malaysian Grand Prix this week. Sergio Perez came in second, surprisingly, with Lewis Hamilton in third. The Aussies Mark Webber and Daniel Ricciardo came in 4th and 12th. You can get more details on the stories you've just seen here on the website 5AA.com.au, but make sure you keep listening for more news as it happens on 1395 Adelaide's 5AA.